All right, guys, welcome back to the 990 podcast. I'm Ray.
And I am Jay.
There seems to be a lot of new things, television shows, movies coming out.
Yeah, man.
Movies not so much, or is there?
Well, I mean, we just had the Oscars, we're in award season right now. So obviously, they had the Grammys the other month and Academy Awards, Oscars, big thing as far as the movie space goes. So
Is this the last big one?
this is the last big one. I think prior to this, they had the SAG Awards, and the Screen Actors Guild Awards is another big one, just because I think that one is voted amongst peers, whereas this one is voted amongst mainly producers. But this is kind of the most prestigious of the movie awards.
What is the one that's voted by viewers?
People's Choice Awards, usually, I mean, those ones, they hold weight. And again, I think it just really, for actors, for producers and directors, it really just depends on how you prioritize your product, right? So I think that a lot of people think that the SAG Awards is just such a prestigious award because you, again, are voted on by your peers. So a lot of times when people, they say if you win a SAG Award, you're almost a shoo-in for the Oscar because the industry kind of supports the work that you're doing.
I see.
But much like the Grammys, once you become even nominated, Oscar nominated, that forever carries on your title. It's almost like the president of the United States. You're forever a president, but if you're an Oscar winner, that it will always be in your title with whatever project you carry.
That's wild because I think I mentioned it where I find some producers, they'll say like Grammy nominated and I'm like, that's weird, but I guess there's weight to it. That's
huge,
why,
man, huge. You think about just in general, what an Oscar is worth. You are literally adding millions of dollars to your suggested
that's nuts.
pay rate. Because once you become an Oscar award winner, you almost shoot straight up to that A-list status.
Wow.
Where more people just want to work with you, whether you're a director or an actor. So yeah, man. But yeah, it was great. It was. Did you get a chance to catch it by chance?
Not Oscars.
Okay. It was good. It was a good show.
Now that we're now the word Oscars coming up.
Yep.
For some reason, Joe, I have this memory of sitting in my mom and dad's bedroom, and they had one of those older TVs where you turn the knobs and you hear the hard clicks.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I remember for some reason I see the camera panning into the Oscars. It's just weird. I don't know why that just brought me back to that.
Yeah.
Because it's been going on for a long time, right?
I forget what year this is, but they have been going on for quite some time. But hands down the most prestigious movie award out there.
Yeah, I think if someone hears Oscars, they'll know it's an award ceremony for movies.
You got it. Absolutely. By chance, I'm trying to think. I'm going through this list of just the nominees for Best Picture, and I want to say you might have seen one or two of these, but we'll go through it. We'll just see if you remember any of these. The Brutalist. Have you heard of The Brutalist?
No, Brutalist.
I'm gonna do very similar to our Grammys. I'm not gonna play a clip, but I'm gonna go over synopsis, and then you just tell me what you think, just based off of just a brief overview of what the movie's about and who's in it. Okay,
sounds good.
The Brutalist. It's an escaping post-war Europe. A visionary architect comes to America to rebuild his life, his career, and his marriage. On his own in a strange new country, he settles in Pennsylvania, where a wealthy and prominent industrialist recognizes his talent. And The Brutalist is starring Adrian Brody.
Wait, hold on. I don't. That's the exact person I was thinking of who would play it.
Really?
Adrian Brody. Yeah.
And you know nothing about this movie. Really? Why so? That's interesting.
Okay, wait. Maybe. Okay, now I'm thinking about it. I seen something where, and I don't know if this is a movie or not.
Okay.
There's a guy who comes up to the front door, knocks, and he's like, "Hey, these are my plans. What do you think of it?"
I think that's from the movie. I think that's
was that Adrian Brody though.
I'm not sure. Okay, so I'll be honest. I did not see this movie.
Okay,
I have it. I have it on queue. It is downloaded. I gotta find 3.5 hours. To carved out to watch this. It's actually a very, very long movie. 3.5 hours long. From what I hear, it's one of the few movies in a very long time that actually has an intermission. So there's like a 10-minute intermission in between the acts because of how long it is.
That's crazy.
In the theater. So you imagine they're like, okay, I'm gonna go take a leak right now. We'll grab some refill of that popcorn.
But if that's the one, but I don't even know if that was Adrian Brody in the scene that I just mentioned.
Okay.
But I don't know why he popped up. I was like, he sounds like this guy.
Maybe Felicity Jones, Guy Pearce in it as well. It sounds good, like so. The Brutalists. I mean, it's a very bold title. From what I understand, the very little that I understand about architecture, Brutalist is a type of architecture. So it's,
okay.
Yeah, so it's very concrete, very industrial. Think like downtown Honolulu, where you have this architecture, and I'm not sure what decade it originated from. So again, I don't want to like talk about things that I don't know anything about, but I do know it is a type of architecture where it can come across very cold, very sterile, but it's something that's really popular because of how striking it is. And again, it's a lot of use of concrete.
The Brutalist.
So that was up for Best Picture. Something that I'm definitely gonna watch when I get the time. But
when they say Best Picture, Jo, does that mean cinematography?
Just all in general. So there was 10 nominations, and then this is just basically saying that this was the movie of the year.
Gotcha.
More or less. Okay.
Cool.
Second movie I got nominated, Wicked. And,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, I know you saw that, but for everyone that didn't, the 10 people that didn't see the movie, misunderstood because of her green skin, a young woman named Elphaba forges an unlikely but profound friendship with Glinda, a student with an unflinching desire for popularity. Following an encounter with the Wizard of Oz, their relationship soon reaches a crossroad as their lives begin to take a very different path. Yeah, what do you think of the Wicked?
It was tough because I had the mentality of thinking like, how does this story
relate to the
Wizard of Oz?
Gotcha.
So I think we talked about it, but I asked Joss, and she was like, you got to think about it like, so these are two separate things. Like they're not on the same timeline or road or whatever it is.
Sure.
I cried maybe twice, and I think we talked about it.
Yeah. Hey, man. You know what's dope is I know you said Josh saw the stage show.
Yeah.
I got to see them when they were here at the Blaisdell. It's amazing. I mean, I'm not an aficionado when it comes to like just plays or musicals, but this was of the few that I've seen, hands down my favorite. I think it just production wise, music wise, I loved it. Wicked is awesome, and I thought they did a great job. Like Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande as the leads. I think that they knocked it out the park. Vocal ability, insane, both of them.
Yeah.
They actually opened up the Oscars.
They did.
They did a number, Defying Gravity. It was awesome. I think that they're both extremely talented. I said it before, but Ariana Grande, I always knew how talented she was as a musician. Not the hugest fan of her music, but I didn't realize how funny she was. Her comedic timing is very good.
Oh, I don't know this.
Yeah, she's done Saturday Night Live, but just in general, I think that she's able to make fun of herself. She's done a very good job just kind of playing in that satirical space where, like, again, I think she's very self-aware as a pop star and has no problem just making the joke about her, but she's actually very funny, and I think that came across really well in Wicked.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. All right, next movie, Dune Part 2.
Dune. I do want to see this one.
Yeah, man. You saw Part 1?
I saw Part 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think Part 1?
I thought it was kind of long, but then I was like, oh shoot, it left space to wanting you to see the second one.
And
so
I believe there's gonna be a third. I don't know if there's gonna be a fourth, but from what I understand, and Frank Herbert, I believe, is the author, wrote the books many years ago. Kind of interesting because there is a lot of just talk that, from what I understand, this was kind of a precursor to Star Wars. So there's a lot of themes in the story that actually got adapted into Star Wars. So people can kind of think about this as being the originator, and George Lucas with what he did was definitely inspired by. But just the idea of just a futuristic battle in space where, even though it's in the future and we have all this technology, did you pick up on the fact that their technology is actually really archaic? Did you understand that?
Archaic? What do you mean? What's that?
And again, somebody who's read the books, please correct me. I'm sure there are many people that are like, you don't even understand the story. But I think in the future that he tells, which is kind of scary, but it gets to a point where I think technology advances the human race, and they need to set the dial back as far as like we need to really go analog in a digital world.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so you look at the technology that's used in the movies and in the screenplay, and it's basically like you have things like these incredible space machines and whatnot, but the way that they run, the way that they're powered, and the technology itself, it's futuristic, but it's very analog, and they do that purposefully because they again had to really dial back on the use of computers and technology. And I think that plays into the bigger story of what's happening. But really, it's just kind of a space soap opera, you know, very much like Star Wars, where you have families and you have ruling factions and battling, you know, for land supremacy and resources. And I don't know. I think for me, the reason why I like the story, it's just this universal theme of, again, what happens when society falls.
Right.
What's going to happen when you need to scramble and you know, you need to either work as a collective, work as a society, or, you know, work as an individual. But what happens when that just kind of hits the fan, and you know, how do you adapt from there? How do you evolve? And that's kind of like, this is just a story of what happens after the world basically kind of crumbles upon itself and has to rebuild itself. And then instead of countries, now you have warring families and factions, you know.
Interesting. Have you watched Battlestar Galactica?
I haven't. I know you've talked to me about this. Many people have told me that I would very much enjoy it. So I wouldn't mind checking it out. But yeah, you know, I think it's one of those daunting series where there's so many episodes. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Right.
Yeah.
My friend is like a huge fan, and he was like, "Oh, check out that mini series that they have." And so I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, you don't have to get like too deep into the thing, but you'll understand the whole story when you watch this mini series." So I started watching it, and it reminded me of one scene where it's like, I guess one of the planets that the humans were on, I think it was like crumbling or something like that, and a rescue ship came down. But only a few people could hop on. And I was thinking, like, when you're talking about, you know, how or how humans rebuild themselves, and how do you do that, and what happens. And I was thinking of this particular scene where it's like, okay, who goes on the ship? You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah, so just reminding me of
complete sidebar. I don't know if you've heard of the show Paradise.
No.
It's on Hulu. I'm going to just do a short plug on that. Very similar, where you have just kind of a dystopian society. Something happens, I won't spoil it, where people need to go into a bunker type situation, and how they choose the people that get into the bunker. It's really interesting, right? Where I don't know, man, you know, like I don't want to morbid us out, but it's kind of scary to think about, right? Where like the world that we know it, literally, if you kind of look at like just where we're at politically and just, you know, economically, and just even as a society in general, like we're hanging on by threads, you know, and it's scary what people are capable of doing to each other when push comes to shove. And, you know, again, not to get us down the dark path here, but yeah, man, you know, I think a lot of these movies really kind of jump onto these themes because they see it as a very realistic future.
For sure.
You know, unless we kind of course correct in real time. So we'll see. But yeah, man, Dune Part 2, Timothée Chalamet, second movie that he's in that got nominated for Best Picture, which is awesome. Zendaya was in this. She had a much bigger role than the first one.
Oh, okay.
I'm a huge Josh Brolin fan. I like Austin Butler. Austin Butler, the dude that played Elvis, is in it. He's a good villain. Yeah, man, Dave Bautista. It's a good ensemble cast. I remember when I first saw like the cast listing for Dune, I'm like, dude, this is like the A-team, bro. They got everybody on this movie, and Denis Villeneuve, the director, he's really selective on the people that he works with, but he's kind of becoming like a Christopher Nolan, where everybody just wants to work with this guy.
I have a and this is just me, I have a weird perception of certain people, famous people, and it's hard for me to see them in a new role, I guess. So when I think about, like, I don't know, Zendaya, it's like, for me, I don't know, I see her like more of a fun
Disney Channel.
Her aura is like kind of not Disney Channel, but like just up.
Got it.
Happy and upbeat.
Yes.
And so it was tough for me to see her in. Not tough, but it's just weird for me to see her in, like, what's that musical?
Euphoria?
No. Oh, Euphoria 2 is. interesting.
That was I mean, she did it. She killed it. She did an amazing job.
I've only seen clips of it. But
Euphoria is not your bag.
Yeah.
Knowing you, that is not your bag. But that is my bag. She's amazing in it. But she plays a really dark character in that.
Yeah. So I think that's just on me to like really try to separate. It's hard to do that for people that maybe don't watch too much movies or whatever.
For sure.
But what's on the next one?
Next one, The Substance. Have you heard anything about that?
Substance.
This is actually so this is one that I did watch. Really enjoyed it very much. Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley. I want to say Dennis Quaid. Yeah, Dennis Quaid is kind of like one of the bad guys in the show, and it's interesting. It is a dark comedy. It's a body horror, meaning that they focus on just the grotesque. It's a whole genre of horror, right? Where body horror, it's usually where like you're looking at makeup and special effects to make people squeamish when it comes to just physical form, and this movie does a great job. But just in a nutshell, I'll just read because I'm reading all the other ones. Overview on this guy here. Fading actress Elizabeth Sparkle becomes distressed when her chauvinistic boss fires her from her aerobics show. She soon injects herself with a mysterious serum that promises a younger, better version of herself, but things go horribly wrong. So again, satire, right? Like very self-aware. Demi Moore did an amazing job, and it's actually really sad if you think about it, because she's kind of playing a role that I think a lot of people could consider mirrors what she's going through personally, because Demi Moore was such a huge star in the 80s, and I don't want to say faded into obscurity. I mean, obviously she's done other projects, but just hasn't really been in the limelight. She's still just gorgeous. Like, she has aged so well. I don't know. I'm sure she's got some work done, but whoever did the work, props. I don't think they did a bad job. But she looks good. But it's her trying to find her place in the new world where they just want younger and prettier. Okay, so somebody that was just in the limelight. How do you stay in the limelight once you get older? And that's kind of the theme, but the science fiction and the body horror part is she finds out about this program that offers this thing called the substance, and what it does is you inject it, and there's very specific rules that you need to follow, and it clones you. So they basically create a younger version of yourself. And the science is so wonky and
grotesque,
crazy.
But
it's funny because she literally like grows another younger, prettier version of herself in her body, and it kind of sheds her skin. So she basically she shares the time. So the whole concept of it is you have 1 week as yourself and then 1 week as this new version of yourself, and you need to continue with the injections, and you cannot break this timeline. After the 7 days, you need to go back to being your old self. But every time you do this, it takes a part of you. Okay. so it's kind of crazy, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but it gets weird. It gets really gross. But again, it just goes back to the idea of like, what happens to people when they age, unfortunately Hollywood is so unforgiving, where, it's just, not to use the title of another movie, but No Country for Old Men, right? Where like it's not the place for the old. I think there are, especially women, and that's kind of this double standard that is ridiculous. Where you have people like Robert De Niro that's still cranking out movies and babies in his 80s, right? The guy's still doing his thing, and nobody's gonna blink an eye. But someone like Demi Moore, who is approaching her 60s, who's still just a phenomenal actress, still drop dead gorgeous, but is not finding work like how she used to because of her age, right? So I think it was good, and I think they captured the theme really well. She was definitely also up for best actress for her performance in The Substance.
I'm wondering what her thought process was after she made the movie, or what her feelings were towards, if there's a sentiment in there where she felt, some type of completion or something because of her real life situation.
Oh, definitely. She won the SAG award. I think for her it was validation. And she had never been nominated, from what I understand. I don't think she'd ever been nominated for an Oscar, so it was a really big deal for her, and she was widely celebrated during the award season because of not just this movie, but just her body of work and all the things that she's done. But mainly because she was willing to tackle this role that was really uncomfortable. Like there was, I don't think most actors or actresses would feel comfortable doing this role, and she went for it. So props to her.
That's solid.
Next movie on the list, I'm Still Here. This one I did not see. My boy Kia, he actually told me about this movie, and he said this is something you got to watch. But from what I understand, it is a Brazilian movie. I think it is in Portuguese.
Interesting.
Said Eunice begins a lonely battle to learn the truth behind the disappearance of her husband, a former deputy, Ruben, while trying to keep her family together. That's not much of a description there. And but from what I understand, I guess like he was some type of law enforcement officer. He just goes disappearing, and it's just this journey of a woman, number one, trying to figure out, okay, what happened with my husband, and it spans decades, and she never gets answers. So it's like tough. Her not giving up the fight of trying to figure out what happened to this person that she loves.
That's
but
crazy.
How is she maintaining her family and making sure she's taking care of everybody? So I guess it's a story of hope, and I will watch it. Do you get deterred when it comes to foreign films?
I'm just thinking about that. I do.
You do?
I do. Yeah.
Don't like reading the subtitles, or?
I don't know what it is, man. I think what would help me is because I'm such a visual supremist or person.
Yeah.
I like good cinematography.
Okay.
And so if there's good cinematography, I'll probably stick with it.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Maybe it depends. That's so funny. Maybe I'm racist. Who knows?
Yeah.
But what's it called? Parasite. Like I love Parasite.
Okay.
I think that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like with Parasite, there was like super good, probably one of my top movies for cinematography.
Yeah. Bong Joon-ho, like he definitely knows how to work the angles when it comes to just everything.
Again, so I think if that's there, I'll probably stick with it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you? Are you deterred from that?
Yes and no. I will never watch a dubbed version of a film. So if there's an English dubbed version versus the original, I will always watch the original. I don't mind reading the subtitles. Again, but I think for me it's more story based. Like if it's an intriguing story, I will 100% watch it. So a lot of these Korean movies, I love them, I like, especially like the gangster stuff. Like, I watch all of that. And Bong Joon-ho, especially the guy that did Parasite, he's got another movie coming out called Mickey 17 that I'm real excited about.
Yeah, with
Robert Pattinson. He did Snowpiercer with Chris Evans. So he's done a lot of English speaking movies as well. But what's kind of dope is, it transcends the fact that, he is a native Korean. I believe he only speaks Korean. I don't even know if he speaks English, but he's able to still direct English-speaking actors because of just his level of talent. He just has such an eye for, creating these scenes, right? These memorable scenes. So, but there are other times where, if it's something where I might not be too familiar with, I might just not dive too much into it if I don't feel invested in the story, right?
True.
Because that's an extra layer that you got to think about. Like, now I got to read all this stuff.
Exactly, yeah. You just want to enjoy the movie.
For sure. This movie I do not know anything about, but people have been talking about it. It's called Nickel Boys. Elwood Curtis's college dreams are shattered when he's sentenced to Nickel Academy, a brutal reformatory in the Jim Crow South. Clinging to his optimistic worldview, Elwood strikes up a friendship with Turner, a fellow black teen who dispenses fundamental tips for survival. Do not know anything about this movie. People said that it is good. We got very good reviews. I think that it's somewhere. Let's see. I think it's streaming at this point, so I'll probably check it out. What about historical pieces? Like, do you like history? I don't want to call it a period piece. Like maybe for this one specifically, it's American history, right? Where it's from decades prior, but it's dealing with some really heavy subject matter.
Yeah.
Do those things like intrigue you, or are you just like, I'd rather watch something current?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. As you're talking, I'm trying to think of like the historical pieces that or movies that I've watched. Saving Private Ryan was
Saving Private Ryan's one.
Saving Private Ryan.
You all okay? Ray's favorite movie. Now, There Will Be Blood. That's a historical piece, right? Yeah. So yeah,
Oh, was it?
Yeah, man. That was. I mean, I don't know what era that was set in. I can't. Again, my timeline is so messed up.
Be blood,
But yeah, I think anytime that even if a movie is filmed currently, and you're diving back into the themes and subject matter of yesteryear, it's a historical piece just by nature. So I like them. I like them. I think sometimes you get oversaturated with what's happening right now. Not to mention just, I'll be honest, man, the world's just such a bummer sometimes, Given the world was kind of a bummer too back in the day, so it's interesting to see where we were, what we've come from, and like where we're at currently. But yeah, I'm always down for something when it comes to just Americana historical timepieces.
Speaking of There Will Be Blood, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah,
my goodness, man, I wonder what his next movie is gonna be.
Good question. I don't know. I don't know if he retired.
Seems like it. It hasn't been.
It's been a minute. I'm trying to think the last thing he was in. It's been a minute, but there's a really, really small list of actors that are just the greats. I mean, sidebar here, but I mean, I wonder what the world's gonna look like when these guys retire. When I think about Daniel Day-Lewis, for me, GOAT list. Okay, we can just go off of here, but
let's go.
Daniel Day-Lewis, Gary Oldman, Ray Fiennes is an amazing actor. Denzel, obviously. Tom Hanks, obviously. There are, I want to say, those are the guys that are like just front of mind just because of their age, and I don't know how much more they're gonna be acting.
Yeah.
Denzel put out this statement that he's gonna retire in the near future.
Oh, wow.
He's got a few projects that are lined up. Black Panther 3 actually being one of them, which is really interesting. But he wants to do a bunch of Shakespearean stuff.
Oh, what?
Shakespearean stuff.
Oh, Shakespearean stuff.
Yeah. So I think he's doing Othello, if I'm not mistaken. He already did Macbeth. But yeah, he's just getting really into his Shakespearean bag right now. And I think he wants to just kind of show his range as an actor. I don't know if you saw Gladiator 2. He was really good in it.
No, just the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and you think to yourself, like, who's gonna take the reins when these guys retire?
Hey, man. That speech by Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that was kind of gangster, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, man. When
what
he noticed,
in a nutshell, what do you say for the audience? Do you remember?
I was gonna tempt, but I was like, well, let's not jail.
Yeah.
But essentially, when he started listing about, so essentially he mentioned that he wanted to be one of the greats.
Yes, he did.
That this award, is not so much of a big deal, but more of a fuel for him to accomplish what he really wants to accomplish, which is to be one of the greats.
Yes.
And he started listing down the names.
Yeah.
And when he said Daniel Day-Lewis, I was like, he said that, right?
He did. I think he said Daniel Day-Lewis. I think he said like Viola Davis. And then he said he sees them the same as Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps. And I thought it was kind of dope because, like, he's not just looking at actors. He's looking at like people that are just regarded as the best. And he wants to be part of that list.
And he's making it relatable to other people that aren't in the movie.
Sure.
And I thought that speech was so like...
It was good.
It was good. Fire.
It was funny because I think most people were able to just read between the lines and be like, this guy is motivated.
Yeah.
But I think some people were like, it's kind of cocky. But he said it in the speech like, hey, I know we're not to be... I know, like, superficiality isn't celebrated here, but truthfully, like, this is motivation for me. I want to be one of the best, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I thought it was modest.
I think it's, you look at it like any competitive sport, you're in competition, you want to be the greatest, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think it reflects in your work, especially when you're on stage as an actor,
Yeah.
It's
fire.
For sure. Okay, Conclave. I just saw this. Conclave. Have you heard of this?
What does that even mean?
Okay,
Conclave?
So from what I understand, Conclave is when a pope is to be, a new pope is to be announced.
Okay.
A conclave is the voting system that the cardinals use.
I see.
To vote in a new pope. And I didn't know any of this. I'm not the most religious guy, and I definitely don't know anything about the Catholic Church. But watching the movie, when I first heard about it, this is the synopsis here. Cardinal Lawrence has one of the world's most secretive and ancient events, participating in the selection of a new pope. Surrounded by powerful religious leaders in the halls of the Vatican, he soon uncovers a trail of deep secrets that could shake the very foundation of the Roman Catholic Church. So I was like, oh,
that sounds
but so I was like, I don't know, is this gonna be too over the top with religion? And it actually wasn't. I was very surprised with how much I enjoyed this movie because there's no action involved at all. It's all
just
dialogue,
talking?
all dialogue.
Oh, shucks.
And most people, some people, they don't like that. They need a little bit of just action in a movie to kind of keep attention. But I just thought it was just such an interesting study of just like, I don't know, not just deceit, but just like all the different human emotions when it comes to just grief and greed, and like when it comes to just being hungry for power and all of this stuff, and like what people are willing to do to each other in order to get these things, and this is coming from the people that we consider the most holy, right? So
right.
It kind of puts that under a microscope as well, whereas we're all human, right? Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. Ray Fiennes was the main actor. I want to say that who else was in here? There was quite a few in the cast. John Lithgow was in there. I definitely. Who else? Stanley Tucci. That was the big guy. Okay, Stanley Tucci was in there as well. This isn't a movie that I would normally watch, but for whatever reason, I think with the Oscars putting so much emphasis on it, I was like, okay, I gotta check this out. They won the SAG Awards for Best Ensemble Cast, so I knew that it must be a masterclass in acting, and it was. It was definitely something that. It's funny, right? So I can honestly say this. Me not being a very religious person, watching movies about religion and learning about certain religions through film, I know that it's not the most accurate depiction of these things, but it's also very interesting because it gives you a different perspective on just how religions function and why people follow religions in general. So yeah, this was one of those where I was like, okay, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way.
You were interested, like the whole.
Yeah, it captivated me the whole time. It wasn't a very long movie, and again, it was based off of an event that took place over the course of a week, and how much can actually happen during that. But the whole process, I was like, I had no idea what a conclave was or what they had to go through to vote in a pope. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, because I think about like dialogue movies, like that. I'm like, it's hard to imagine that the script can carry out the whole time. Yeah, it
was interesting. And, again, going back to just cinematography, really beautiful shots. It was filmed, I want to say, on location. Rome, Vatican, just a very beautiful city. But yeah, interesting. I liked it. Next movie, Complete Unknown, and this is the big one that a lot of people are buzzing about. In the early 90s, a 19-year-old Bob Dylan arrives in New York with his guitar and a revolutionary talent destined to change the course of American music. Forming his most intimate relationships during his rise to fame, he grows restless with the folk movement, making a controversial choice that reverberates worldwide.
Is this Timothy
Chalamet played Bob Dylan, so it's a biopic. I did not watch it. This was one of those where everybody's like, have you seen this? And I hadn't watched it. And I'll be honest, it's because I just...
You don't like the biopics?
No, I love biopics. I think I just don't like Bob Dylan's music.
Okay.
And I know that the music was only a portion of the movie. It's not a musical.
Sure.
One of the cool facts about the movie is that Timothy Chalamet actually played the music. He sang in the movie. That was him singing as Bob Dylan. So he's actually multi-talented. Dude he learned how to play the guitar, was able to carry a tune. I think maybe because that's just not my genre when it comes to music in general.
Yeah.
I couldn't get past that because I was like, oh, how interesting could it be when I'm not a fan of the music myself, right?
Yeah.
But just based off of, how good of an actor Timothy Chalamet is, I think it's something that I'm going to watch. Again, it's something that I queued up. I have it downloaded, and I got to just make time to see it. But they went on a hell of a press run, man. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of trailers and commercials for this movie.
No, actually.
Really?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Yeah. Chalamet actually did. Did you see his press run?
He said a portion on a podcast about it.
He did a masterclass in just promoting the movie, and the reason why I think he did such a good job with it is because he himself basically he put himself out there as a person, as an actor. Okay, so even though he's promoting the movie, he himself kind of was just exposing himself to the world, where he was on podcasts, he was hosting, he did like this gig on ESPN. Who knew that this kid knew so much about college football?
Yes,
amazing. I don't know if you saw that clip.
I seen a clip.
Dude,
yeah,
crazy. The guy had so much knowledge about sports. He's a music buff. Like he did the interview with Kendrick. I don't know if you saw clips for that.
I didn't see that.
Right before the Super Bowl, he actually interviewed Kendrick Lamar.
Wow,
which is pretty crazy. He knows all of Kendrick's music. So he with like him as a person, he kind of just was really transparent as who he is and what makes him just the actor that he is. And he's a really fascinating dude. He's kind of borderline weird, and in a good way. You know, I think he's lived a very interesting life. He has got a lot of interest, and I think he's really relatable. He's just kind of like this kid that is just really discovering this fame in real time and just really just enjoying everything that comes with it. But he's gonna be one of the greats. I think he's gonna definitely go down as being one of the most celebrated actors of our time.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a complete unknown. Next one, Amelia Perez. Heard a lot about this movie. Have not seen this as well.
Amelia Perez. Is this another?
This one is on Netflix. I think Netflix produced it. There's a little bit of controversy on this one. I'll go into that. But Amelia Perez, it says, a Mexican lawyer is offered an unusual job to help a notorious cartel boss retire and transition into living as a woman, fulfilling a long-held desire.
Like transgender kind?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Zoe Saldana is one of the main stars. Selena Gomez is in it. I think the main actress is actually a transgender woman. Her name is Carla Sofia Gascon. There's a lot of things going on here. So, I mean, obviously, you know, it's a little provocative when you just hear the synopsis. You're like, well, that's kind of interesting. But it got a lot of acclaim, and I want to tread cautiously because I hate talking smack about things that I haven't seen for myself. And I think a lot of people just kind of jump on this hate bandwagon of like, oh, it sucks. And I'm like, well, I didn't see it. I can't say that, right?
Yeah.
But based off of what people are saying, do I want to see it? I don't necessarily know. Zoe Saldana actually won Best Supporting Actress, and there's a little controversy with the fact that she's playing a Mexican in the movie, and she herself, I believe, or I think she's Dominican.
Okay.
So although she can speak Spanish, you know, it's a completely different culture and ethnicity, you know, so you can go down a whole thing of like, okay, you know, like, are you getting different actors of, you know, like, is that the same as Scarlett Johansson playing a Japanese woman on Ghost in the Shell? Definitely not, right? But at the same time, like, can people feel some type of way as far as one ethnicity playing another just because you're Spanish speaking? You know, like, there's that.
Interesting,
man. Okay, so let's think about it this way. Like, let's say you have just a stereotypical Asian character cast into a movie. A guy has a Japanese last name and you cast a Korean guy. People will be like, oh, what's the difference? But you know, Korean people might feel some type of way. Japanese people might feel some type of way. Sure. Or not all the same. So I get that argument. Yeah. So that was one of the controversies. Another big one was the director is actually from France. He's a French speaker. He does not speak Spanish at all. Okay. From what I understand, I don't think he's even. They filmed in France. They didn't even film in Mexico. So everything was just created and fabricated, right? Yeah. So he didn't do his research on the culture and the people and the places that he created this entire story around. It was almost as if Mexico was just an afterthought and it could have been filmed anywhere, but he decided that he wanted to make this a story about Mexico, but he didn't do any due diligence when he made that. So there's a huge controversy there.
That's a rough one.
And he also kind of made some disparaging remarks about just Mexican people in general. I was like, what? Why would you make a movie about them, you know? And yeah, I'll be honest, he kind of comes off as an asshole. You know, like he's had multiple opportunities. You know, he's been on multiple award shows. I think they even won quite a few awards at some of the other ceremonies, and when he goes up and speaks, like he's had all this opportunity to kind of talk about transgender rights and all of these things, but he doesn't address it at all. And I'm like, why would you make a movie about this topic if you're not going to celebrate the people and the cultures, that you're profiting off of, essentially, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then lastly, this was a big one. So the main actress, they made a big deal because she's the first transgender woman to be nominated for actress of the year, the Oscar for Best Actress. And I guess a couple nasty tweets came up that she tweeted out there back in the day, and it, of course, came back and haunted her, and just had some bad things to say about Muslim people, the Black Lives Matter movement, and whatnot. And what's hard is, as a human, you got to understand people say stuff they regret all the time. But when you're living in the age of technology, once you put something out there, it will always live out there. I think that's why they say, watch what you post, watch what what you share, all of this stuff. And I don't know. It's funny. Like, do you feel like you've drawn back as a content creator? Do you feel like you've drawn back more in recent time as far as what you share about your personal life or personal views when you put it out there, or do you feel like I'm more open nowadays?
It's in the back of my mind.
Okay.
It's in the back of my mind. So like certain things I'll intentionally not post because I know there are people that might think certain things
right.
That don't appreciate the transparency with my family or whatever it is.
Okay.
But just for the protection of so in I guess, to be transparent, I won't post something that will of Zoe that might seem, there's evil people out there.
Yes.
And they could see a certain position or whatever, or certain body part that's, facing certain, those type of things I'm very aware about. And so those are things that, I have in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
In terms of just like family outings and just being transparent of, sharing the joys of my life and whatnot.
Sure.
It's out there.
Well, I mean, also, you got to think to yourself, like, there are things about you and your life that you're just going to be unapologetic about, like like your faith is one of them, right? When it comes with the love of your family, that's another one, and you shouldn't have to hide that, I guess, is what I'm saying. But I don't know, it's for me personally, I think about what I used to share on the internet versus where I'm at now, and I think even more so because of Salem, like I'm so much more guarded, and I feel like I've kind of just I don't know, I've just kind of reduced my footprint so much more than I used to. And I cringe, man. Like I'm glad I'm not famous. I think about like things that I've said, things that I've done where like I'm like, this may just come back and haunt me one of these days. But at the same time, I'm like, like it is what it is. You did that. That's who you were. This is who you are now. But again, when it comes to just celebrities, you don't have that luxury.
You don't, man. It's
like
tough.
there, you hit that button on certain things, and it'll come back. It'll definitely come back. So, unfortunately for her, don't know the lady, but yeah, I mean, she said enough things for people to look at her cross-eyed. So she was actually at the award ceremony, didn't get the best reception. I think a lot of people were surprised that she showed up. But with all that said, all of that, I think even though it was nominated for Best Picture, I think people just felt like the movie didn't belong there because of all the outside controversy. Funny thing about it, though, is a friend of mine who actually saw the movie was just like, dude, it sucked. Like, he said he didn't even know about all this nonsense going on.
Oh, shoot.
And he was just like, dude, it just wasn't a good movie. Like, it's a musical. He said the music.
It's a musical?
Yeah. He said the music sucked.
Well.
Yeah, he kind of listed this whole thing that had nothing to do with anything else that happened. And I was like, that just doesn't sound like a very good movie or something that I'd enjoy watching. So
now that I know it's a musical, it's probably, I wouldn't, yeah.
Last movie on the list, Honora. And I'll be biased, man. Okay, so out of the 10 movies, two of my favorite movies were on that list. And that's going to be Dune 2 as well as Honora. Those are my top two movies of the year. Honora is a young woman from Brooklyn. She gets her chance as a Cinderella story when she meets and marries the son of an oligarch. Once the news reaches Russia, her fairy tale is threatened as the parents set out for New York to get the marriage annulled. That is a very good description, but that is only like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this movie.
What was the last part about getting annulled?
Once the news of her marriage reaches Russia, her husband's from Russia.
Gotcha.
The family heads out for New York to get the marriage annulled. They want to get the marriage dissolved.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's the PG version of what the movie is. What the movie is, it's kind of an exploration of. So Honora's she's a stripper in the movie. Okay. And on top of just a stripper, she ends up, like, you find out that she's a sex worker. She's also a prostitute. So with that, she dates and has sex for money. And one of her clients ends up just being the son of an oligarch. So an oligarch, just Russian billionaire. Very powerful person. The son is just kind of like this all over crazy dude, and he's just there for a good time. And it's just like this whirlwind romance where you are watching it happen and you're just like, oh man, this is not going to end well. It's not going to end well. It's a comedy. And again, it's a dark comedy, right? Because it's some heavy themes, but it's just this idea that, how we look at certain people, where as a society, I mean, even so, they wrote that synopsis, right? But they didn't mention anything about sex worker or stripper in the synopsis,
right?
But if you added that to the card, most people would be like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to see that." But then that's just kind of these preconceived notions that, like, if you have a certain title on you, for some reason, you're not deserving of a good life or love, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I can see that. And that's, I think that's fair, because I think that's just people in general. Like, that's just kind of a stereotype that we have on not just, what people do, but, maybe what we have, just, again, preconceived notions of just how a person should be. And I think that's just something that everybody has biases that are just unconscious or conscious, right?
Sure. Yep.
The reason why I liked it was she's just a very tough, rad chick. Honora is just this really strong, very stubborn, strong-willed girl that no matter what, she's gonna make sure that she's taken care of. And it just kind of just shows her go through this entire thing where she just finds what she thinks is happiness and love through money, and then when that's taken away, like, what she's left with. And it's a great story. It's a heartbreaking story. There's a lot of very funny moments, a lot of very touching moments, and it kind of ends on a cliffhanger, but it's also like this open interpretation that maybe she'll find what she was looking for, type of thing. But the actress Mikey Madison is kind of creating all kinds of sparks right now, because I'll be honest with her, like, I didn't know anything about her. She was actually in quite a few movies that I've seen, and I didn't even know that was her.
Okay.
But if you see her in Honora, you're just going to be like, dude, this girl is she's going to be a huge star.
Look it up right now.
Huge star. She's just she's got movie star look. She's beautiful. but on top of that, like, you watch all her interviews, she's just such a, like, sweet natured person. She comes across very, very, like, sweet. That's why the character that she played is very different than what she seems to be in real life. So you got to think, like, she really kind of dug deep to play this role.
Wow.
But she was actually up for Best Actress as well and won.
Oh, really?
So she was over. That was probably one of the biggest surprises of the night. Everybody thought it was going to go to Demi Moore for sure.
Yeah.
And when they announced her name, I think she was even surprised, because up until that point, she had won some minor awards, but nothing of the big majors. So to get the Oscar over Demi Moore, who everybody thought was 100% a shoe-in.
Yeah.
And Demi Moore was so classy. Like, you could just see how excited she was for this new girl. But sadly, when you go back to the subject of her movie, she lost out to somebody who was younger and prettier. You know what I mean? Where you're just hilarious. Like, holy crap, you can't catch a break here. But, like, that's kind of what it was, But
that was funny.
That was a surprise. But Honora scooped, man. So not only did she win Best Actress, Best Director went to Sean Baker, the director of Honora, and it ended up winning Best Picture. So out of the 10 movies that I listed, Honora actually won Best Picture.
Jeez.
A lot of people thought it was going to go to The Brutalist. Okay, so Adrian Brody won Best Actor, gave the freaking longest speech in Oscars history. I'll be honest with you, like, I think that I know where he was going, but he just could not land the plane, and he just kind of rambled, and it got kind of uncomfortable. You're just like, okay.
Well, they didn't play the music?
They did, and he told him, like, let me talk. And
Sucking guy.
kind of like, like it was kind of a power move, but at the same time, he kind of was a little douchebaggy, where it just kind of sounded a little self-important. Even though I think the message that he was trying to tell was strong, but like I feel like he could have condensed it. He just kind of rambled on a little bit long there. So he ended up winning, Best Actor. Brutalist, people thought were gonna win for the best movie. Either that or Conclave. Those were the ones that everybody thought was going to win. So when Anora got announced, it was kind of a huge shock. So they won I'd say the biggest awards of the night. I think that was the biggest surprise, but they also did a clean sweep. So Dune ended up winning some awards, cinematography, sound design, a lot of those things. But I think one of the big surprises, aside from Demi Moore, was that Complete Stranger, Timothée Chalamet didn't win. It was between him and Adrian Brody, and they also didn't get nominated. I mean, they also didn't win any of the other awards, so they kind of got shut out.
Wow.
Yeah, so interesting, man. I mean, this was one of those years where out of all those movies was probably the least that I've seen. Every year I try my best to watch every Best Picture nomination, and this year I only watched a handful of them.
Why is that?
My daughter.
Yeah, that's exactly what
yeah. I think I can honestly say the last year has been reprioritized. We spent, I think the only movie we saw in the theater was Wicked. And then prior to that, I want to say, I can't even remember, maybe Deadpool and Wolverine. I think those are like the last movies that we saw in the theater, right? And yeah, I mean, again, good times, but movies, as much as I love them, as huge of a part of my life is, like, I just didn't have the time for them this year.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think there was a lot of really challenging subjects in some of these. Like, if I go over the synopsis for all of them with you, like a little bit heavier themes this year, right?
Yeah.
Where I think sometimes you are in the mood for that, and there are other times where you just want to be entertained.
Right.
I was like, man, where's the Avengers, bro?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to have a good time with a movie. I don't necessarily need all the other things to weigh me down. But the movies that I did see, enjoyed thoroughly. So again, Conclave, Dune 2, Anora, cannot say enough about those movies. And everything else, aside from Amelia Perez, will probably make some time to watch.
Yeah. There's one movie that's coming up for me. For some reason, Something Days. What is it, Joe?
Something Days.
Blank Days.
You got to give me an actor. Old
Japanese guy. Mundane.
Perfect Days.
Is it Perfect Days?
I think so. That came out already.
That did.
Came out.
For some reason, that's coming up as we're talking about movies. So I'm like, maybe that's the one that I like just unconsciously want to watch for some reason.
From what I heard, I don't know how much dialogue is in that movie, but it just kind of goes over this guy's life, where he just has such a simple life.
Yeah.
But he just has found a way to enjoy himself even through the most mundane tasks, and he's just kind of kept this positive outlook on everything. So I think it's kind of, from what I understand, an uplifting movie, but again, one of those movies that I have on queue and I've not seen yet.
It sounds slow from that kind.
Yeah. Any blockbuster movies that you're looking forward to?
No, not that I mean, some people told me about Captain America.
Yeah, I believe it or not, I didn't see that, man. I there was a point where I was pre-buying tickets to every Marvel movie. I didn't miss a single Marvel movie, even the bad ones. I watched every single one of them.
This is the first one,
and this is the first one that I did not, buy a ticket to for opening night. And I definitely did not catch it. I'm probably gonna wait till it goes streaming and then maybe on Disney Plus watch it from there. Hasn't gotten the best reviews, which is sad. I mean, I like Anthony Mackie. I think he's great as Falcon, but as Captain America, what's tough is you're following a storyline that's already written versus people that are casual fans perceiving that this is the direction Marvel chose to go. So they're just like, they're just trying to be woke. Now we got a black Captain America. I'm like, that's what happens in the comics, dude. Like, this is what happens. Like, Falcon becomes Captain America. This is source material, like this is not something that they just decided they wanted to do, but I think unfortunately a lot of people just aren't into the idea of anyone other than Chris Evans being Captain America, right?
Right.
But aside from that, I just heard the story was kind of all over the place.
From
I'm sad, man. I'm sad. Yeah, I love Marvel. I love the MCU. I think the world building that they did when they created the Infinity Saga is something that will never be replicated ever again. And like it was just lightning in a bottle. I think that a lot of these movie companies are trying to create universes right now, and they're never going to be able to do it as good as Marvel did it. But I don't think even Marvel can do it again, just because it was just too intricate, the storylines that connected everything together.
Yeah, it's so funny because does Disney own Marvel?
Yep.
I seen something online where it's like everything that Disney touched in that sense was like kind of just like started going downhill. But I don't know if
people
that's
say
true.
the same about Star Wars. So Disney also owns Star Wars, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm looking forward to a few things. Thunderbolts, which is a Marvel project, is coming out. That actually looks decent. Kind of curious to see where they go from there. Have you seen the trailers for those?
No.
Did you watch Suicide Squad, DC?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't nerd you out there.
Well, I'm just thinking now, like, how do you even build up a character or a hero in a sense where you can get them to a point where it's like Captain America or all these guys like Spider-Man and all these guys?
What you got to do, what Marvel did well, is you need to make people care about them as individuals before you put them into a team. So Anthony Mackie is in a really interesting spot because as Sam Wilson, the Falcon, people love him as the Falcon. They don't love him as Captain America because they only see Chris Evans, Steve Rogers as Captain America. Right. So that's a unique situation. But I think what they're doing wrong right now is they're introducing characters and then these characters are just disappearing. Like
that's
what they did in the original 10 years was you had a character in an individual movie and then you would continuously see them in the other movies. So that's kind of like developing this thread along the way of like, okay, I really care about what happens to this guy because I'm seeing him in every story, right?
So the one thing that pops out to me or that weaves this whole like, your love for a character is in my head is time.
Yep.
So like similarly to like Naruto,
you
have an episode each week.
Okay.
You have to kind of wait for that. And then and throughout those, 10, 15 years, you just fall in love with this character. But then now these days, you can't just create something and then have people fall in love.
It takes time, man. It's an investment. Well, so right now, I'm nerding us out so hard. I will promise we will close after this. But so right now, the big thing is how they're going to introduce the Fantastic Four and the X-Men into the MCU, right? So they've been doing some really, really subtle things with the X-Men. I think Beast has already been in the Marvels. They showed a version of Xavier, which is the Fox version. And then, of course, Wolverine. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine was in Deadpool. So some X-Men characters have already crossed over. But the idea is they're going to reboot everybody. Yeah. And they're going to introduce them as younger characters with the idea that they're going to grow with the franchise. So, I mean, it's a huge commitment. As an actor, can you imagine, like, I mean, think about that. Like, you're going to get the payday of your life, but you need to commit to the next 10 years.
Yeah, next 10, 15.
And multiple projects, not just your individual movies. I'm going to need you in 5 other movies that have nothing to do with your title.
Yeah.
Crazy. It is for some people, but for others, yeah. I mean, but then again, right? Like, you get paid millions of dollars and get in the best shape of your life. Why not?
True. Yeah. That's true.
But yeah, with that said, man, movies.
movies. Yeah.
But yeah, brother, thank you very much. I always have a good time. Well, in the downtime, we'll try to watch some of these movies and give our honest reviews. Next time around. All right,
sounds good.
Peace.